Well, hello there. So you might have had a few players linked with going to Kaizer Chiefs, but also there is now one specific player who's linked with an exit from Kaizer Chiefs, and that is Uzita Kwinika, on top of the other three players who are linked with a move away from Kaizer Chiefs. Now, with Uzita Kwinika, his contract situation is it expires next year, June. We know that Kaizer Chiefs usually gives these players 3-year contracts, and now his contract is expiring next year, June. But currently, if you look at where he plays as a centre back, there is actually Titlokwe, there is Umsimango, they just signed Luke Flus. There are also talks of McCarthy, the young McCarthy, being promoted to the senior team. So when it comes to our centre backs, we have a lot. Abonjabulo Ngobo as well, who's also running out of contract. Even about Dove playing as centre backs. So you see, there is a lot of competition in that place. So he's not going to be getting a sniff anytime soon. But someone will say, Mpilo, but he can play as right back, right? But let's be honest. Calvin Johnson even trusted him in the derby and made him a right back because, well, defensively he prefers him. But after that, we've never seen any amount. It didn't get any game time, basically. That's what I'm trying to say. And if you think about it, as much as they've not trusted Solomons, but offensively, he's still better than Ukwinika when it comes to playing as a right back. Because yes, the starter, it's clear that it's Frosler, but after him, then it should be Solomons because he's the one who will give you more things going forward. So now the question that I have to, before we continue talking about which team is going to, is the question that, do you think that Uzita Kwinika still has a place at Kaizer Chiefs? Because if we are continuing to look at the situation or how we could actually use Uzita Kwinika to our benefit is, since he has played for Stellenbosch, why not say, Stellenbosch, we want Hana, we want Basadin, or we want whoever, because we want a lot of players from Stellenbosch, and we say, you know this player, he has played for you, here he is much more experienced now, and we want a player from you. Because if you think about it, a player like Kwinika, who's probably one of the high earners at Kaizer Chiefs, given his status when we bought him, then you think that he's earning a lot of money at Kaizer Chiefs, but he's sitting on the bench. And some people might say, no, it's not a lot of money. But think about it. Even if he's getting like 100,000 each month, that is 1.2 million in a year. And usually we know that Kaizer Chiefs spend like about 3 million on defenders when they're signing them. So that 100,000 or that 1.2 million that they're spending on Kwinika's wages each year, that could be spent on another transfer or in addition to the other money that hopefully they are saving to spend on these other signings. So I don't think it makes sense for the player or for the club really, because one is just getting paid for sitting on the bench, but the club is also paying someone for just sitting on the bench, which doesn't make sense to me. And also for him, I think at this stage in his career, he doesn't really want to sit on the bench right now. So the best thing that I think could come out of this situation, if it is true, because we know we don't usually trust Uladuma, is use him as a swap deal with Stellenbosch. Now, while we're here, do make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel. It's a nice thing to do. And also, let's look at the players who might be on their way out of Kaizer Chiefs. Because once again, the publication that we don't trust, Iladuma, they reported on some players who might be leaving Kaizer Chiefs. And since they didn't say the names, I went an extra mile to look and say, you know what, these are the 3 players who can actually be on their way out of Kaizer Chiefs. And the first one is Usabelo Hadebe. The last time Sabelo Hadebe played was under Umlifinsegi, if I'm not mistaken. And since then, he hasn't had a sniff. He hasn't played a single game after that Sundowns game or a few games after that. And you're like, why is this man still sitting on the bench? Because it was cute, or it was acceptable 3-4 years ago to say Sabelo Hadebe is a youngster. He's not a youngster anymore. But I also have a question for you. Do you think Usabelo Hadebe would do a better job than Umshini? Because if we're being frank, the only person he can compete with in midfield is Umshini, because Umart is untouchable. We know that. And then we 6, it's either Umteto is playing or Castillo is playing. So the only spot that is remaining is Umshini, which would be competed for by Umatlou, Usabelo Hatebe, and Umshini. So now that's the question I have for you. I'll ask another question very soon. So the second player is Happy Mashiane, who I always say I don't think is ever, probably will never, hopefully he does, recover from that trauma of the CAF Champions League final. Because look at him, he's never been the same player since then. And also, since they are not playing him as a left back, that means he's not going to get any game time from there. If you think about him playing as a left winger, Umodi is doing really well in that position, but sometimes Dupri played in that position. We go to the right wing position. Usaile starts, he's doing well. He has power, he has pace. But if Usaile is taken out, Potsane comes in. When Utoli returns from injury, we know it's Kim Sakilesa, so so you really look at it and you're like, there is no way that Mashian will be getting any game time at Chiefs. Which brings me to people who will obviously say, you know what, Bilo? Whenever we loan players out, they never do anything for us because we end up losing them. To which I say, which is better? Loaning them out, because if we loan them out, at least their club is saving money because some part of the salary is not being paid by the club, but it's being paid by the other club. And that money can be saved to finance other transfers. Then to just have these players sitting on the bench, like I said with Kunika, it's pointless to have all of these players sitting on the bench while you could be using that money to finance other transfers. The other player, before I continue, I want to ask, where would you play Happy Mashiane if you're Kevin Johnson? Me, I've already said I'll play mid left back at this point because people will say Uhlanti is better defensively. I'm like, no, he's not. He's not better defensively. And if you're gonna say Mashiane is suspect defensively, so is Uhlanti. At least with Mashiane, you'd be getting something offensively. Rather than, look at what Pirates are doing with Hoto. They've taken Hoto because they see they have better wingers. They're playing him as a left back and he's doing well. You look at Sundowns, what they're doing with Abom Dao. Sometimes they make him play as a left midfielder because offensively it gives them more. Can even tweak the system or just make sure that someone is covering for Mashiane at left back. So when Mashiane overlaps, we make sure that Umart will be there to close the space in case of a counter. So this thing of just sitting Mashiane on the bench while we can be playing him ahead of Utlanti, to me, that does not make any particular sense. Now, the other player is Usamgelo Zwane. And I know someone will lose it and say, hayi uswa sangana manje yengoba nithukana, especially TikTok, yabantu bak TikTok ba rude as abanye babo bavele beqhamuke nje sebekuthuka. But that's not where we are. Where we are, sisekutheni Usamgelo Hadebe is one of those players who came to the scene last year and we're like, yeah, Usamgelo Zwane. But then what has happened? Sitting on the bench in the name of being protected. But now what is happening is that whenever he comes on, people have started saying Samgelo Zwane must take his football serious, this and that, this and that. But to me, I feel like that will happen to any player. If you're sitting on the bench all the time, you'll get rusty. And you are not everyone is Kevin De Bruyne or Guti. They will come back from a 4-month, 5-month injury, 5 months injury and just perform. So, and also add to that, Uguti, he's young and there are a lot of things valid that he needs to do. And also in football, we all know this. We learn by the mistakes that we make. But these guys are only brought on, funny enough, they are brought on when it's 1-0, we are losing. And they have to come and save the game. So there is that pressure because in the first 70 minutes, people were, their frustrations were building up to a moment where Usamgelo Zwane is introduced. And then it frustrates the fans even more because, why? Because he's not performing. But how can he perform if he's only given 20 minutes or 10 minutes in some games? So to me, it doesn't make sense. So once again, I ask you this question. Do you think it would make sense for Samgelo Zwane to go on alone at least for the rest of the season, then come back? Or do you just think it's better for him to stay put and fight for his place? Do let me know down in the comment section below. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, remember, Khosi, I'll